Welcome to 5 and 5 from the One Stop Co-op Shop, the review series where I talk about 5 key aspects of a game in about 5 minutes. I'm Michael Kelly, and today I'm reviewing Crowbar from Flying Pig Games. Quick disclaimer that I was sent a review copy of this game. Does this combination of push-your-luck mechanics and World War II combat work? Let's find out and get to the list. I'm going to start out with a con for number 5 that focuses on some fiddliness in play in both the rulebook and also in dealing with the components for the game. Starting first with the rules, they aren't terrible. You can get through the game pretty clearly, but there are some things missing, so you need the errata file on BGG to really have the full set. But even with that, the game has a lot of phases it goes through, like first you're in the ocean, then you're climbing up the beach, then you're inland, and the rules change for that in a way that sometimes feels more chrome than required, and makes things kind of more complicated and hard to keep track of overall. But the other side of the fiddliness is the components and dealing with the counters in the game. And don't get me wrong, these are beautiful components. I love the giant map, but the game sometimes expects you to have way too many tokens in one space, and it's hard to keep track of where everything is. You're going to spend more time fiddling with the counters than you might prefer. But I'm switching to a pro for number 4, and that's both the event cards and the event chit that drive the game and also give it a lot of its variety. There's 3 main timers in the game: the time of day and which day it is, how much the Germans are counter-attacking you, and how close your relief is from the main D-Day landings. And the fun element that ties all these together are the random event cards, which you'll draw and which will move these things over based on your die rolls. I like that these cards and tracks give the pacing of the game a varied feel from play to play, but always give you a nice amount of pressure to keep pushing forward because you earn more victory points the earlier you do things. And they combine with the event chits, which you'll randomly draw based on your die rolls, and these chits give a lot of the fun theme and immersion and also variety to the game. Like, this is where artillery fire comes in, or unexpected reinforcements. These tokens give the game more of a feeling of a chaotic battle without adding much rules overhead. But I'm coming back to a con for number 3, the biggest one for me about this game, and that's the potential for the arc of the game to feel fairly repetitive from play to play. Like I mentioned earlier, the game kind of moves through phases. You've got this sea phase, which is very tense, then you have to scale the cliffs, and then you push inland trying to capture these guns as quickly as you can while neutralizing German opposition. And those different parts of the game feel quite varied and are pretty exciting, especially coming in on the boats and climbing up the cliffs. The problem, though, is that there's not enough variety in how this is set up or how it generally plays out. You're going to have pretty much the exact same units in the same spots every game. You're going to have basically the exact same German opposition in the same spots every game. You're going to feel like you've done this before as you play the game over and over. But I'm ping-ponging back to a pro for number 2, and that's the great tactical feeling of the column-based combat in the game and how you support each other and can push yourself forward. So each of the 12 ranger units in the game is restricted to its own column, which might make it feel too isolated, but lots of the mechanics in the game give you a feeling of cohesion and working together. Having people near you gives you bonuses in close combat. They can fire into your column to soften up enemies so you can conquer them. I also really like how the game models the feeling of a changing front line, not only with the German enemies themselves, but with the concept of rally points, which your units can either rush forward and leave behind, putting themselves in greater and greater danger, or choose to move more slowly and cautiously and keep on bringing them up so that you don't get cut down but might not reach your objectives quickly enough. It's really a nice choice and a nice kind of thematic connection to mechanics. And I'm going to end with one more pro, at least a pro for me, although it might not be for you, and that's the core mechanic of actions in the game, which are the push your luck dice. To explain this mechanic briefly, you choose one unit to activate at a time, and you have 4 differently colored dice, and you roll 1 die at a time, and you can stop whenever you want, and if you don't stop at the right time, you can suffer harsh consequences, but you also have to ask yourself, which dice do I want to roll? How much do I want to push? Do I need this unit up at the front faster? It's a really nice system for me that builds in tension and choices and some surprises, which does give variety back to the game. But I do want to be clear that those who are randomness averse are probably going to hate this because it is pretty swingy. You can do super well or super terribly and really change the difficulty of the game. And the same thing applies to a dice-based combat, where a 6 is a full-on hit, and if you get tons of those, you might crush your opponents. If you don't, you might be struggling. I still find it fun, but it might not ring true for you. So overall, I really enjoyed every play I had of Crowbar. The nice thematic mix of the landing, the cliff scaling, and then pushing inland, the push your luck dice, the great tactical positioning, all this made it a really fun yet generally accessible war game. But at the same time, there are definitely things to look out for depending on the type of gamer you are. You might not like the push your luck, the rules do need a little bit of work and checking the errata, and the game doesn't have quite as much replay and variety from play to play as I'd like. Now, I will note there's an expansion for it that adds, I think, 6 new scenarios, including shorter ones that can let you play the game in lots of ways, even play as the Germans, but I never got that and didn't get to try it out, so I can't say for sure whether it fixes the variety problem, but I would imagine it probably would. If you'd like to see the game in action, click the link that just popped up for a partial playthrough. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.